Hi, I'm Dean Harrison and we are at my home address. Not initially, no. I probably wanted to race a bike from you sort of like... You sort of start thinking about it when you're like a bit younger, but you never have the money to do it, innit, when you first start. I didn't start racing until I was 18. And the only reason why I had the money to do it is because I got knocked off my road bike. And the money that I got from that, I went and bought a racing bike and it just all spiralled from there, really. I had a VFR 400. I would have been 17. I got knocked off it on the way home from work. I used to work at a bike shop just down the road. And then when I got the payout from the insurance, I went and bought a racing bike and I started racing at 18.
What were you racing?
CBR 600. That's the first bike I ever bought. I thought, it's when I first started, to be honest, at 18, the sort of 125 and the 250 class and the little class, it was starting to sort of fizzle out, if you know what I mean. And the super sport class was probably one of the most popular. So I just went and bought a CBR 600 and just sort of rocks up at a club meeting and then went Irish road racing. Yeah, I loved it straight away. I didn't, don't get me wrong, I didn't think of what I was doing now. You'd never think of that then. When you're 18 years old, you just sort of jump on your bike, roar around and crash and do what you need to do. Yeah, my dad does sidecars. He's done that since I was born, to be honest. He's done it for years. He's been at the TT area since 1993. I've been along there, so I've seen it all. I do like sidecars. I'd always wanted to race a solo. For some reason I said, I want to race a bike, so that's the route I went down and just went from there. Both my granddads used to race bikes. One of my granddad raced a bike, other granddad raced a sidecar, so it's always been a family thing as bikes. Yeah, no, my brother races, he races a TT as well, and various club meetings, and he did do Scarborough and stuff like that, so he's older than me, he's 4 years older than me as my brother, but he's still going. She doesn't say a lot, to be honest. She just stays pretty quiet and just sort of leaves us to her own devices. She keeps herself to herself.
Does she worry out on the island, or
yeah.
Does she come watch?
Yeah, no, everywhere we go, my mum goes. She's my dad still does British Championship F2 sidecars now, so she's away every weekend with my dad doing that. She comes to Scarborough, she'll come to the Isle of Man, and she comes where she can, really. She just tips up, stays in the background, and just watches from a distance, really. Yeah, no, I'll span an hour. Do a bit of work at silicone up at the workshop through the week. I do out. I've worked at car shops, bike shops. I'll do out that. I just like to keep the hand in. You've always got to do something to keep you busy, and I can't just sit at home doing nothing. It drives you insane. Yeah, I think having a good general knowledge of mechanical background helps with knowing how things work. But then again, these riders out there that are absolutely brilliant that have no mechanical sense whatsoever. So I don't know if it is a bonus or it was. I like it because I like to know how things work, whereas other people just like to ride the bike. Whereas I like both sides of it, really.
Yeah. Are you quite hands-on though? Do you like to make a lot of changes?
Yeah, no, I am hands-on. I like to know what's been changed, why it's been changed, and sort of the pros and the cons to why we're going to change it. Don't get me wrong, it is probably a pain in the ass sometimes when I'm sort of asking those questions to the lads, but it makes me feel better that I know what's been changed and why it's been changed.
Yeah.
Winning races. Yeah, if you win races, that's what it's all about. That's what the team's all about. Don't get me wrong, though, you can't win them all, can you? Like last season, we had a fair few wins, we had some podiums. If you can just, as a whole, if you look at it as a whole, you've got to look at the results you've had throughout the year. Because you can have one good weekend, then you have a bad weekend, you know. The racing, you've just got to take the rough with the smooth, haven't you? Do you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, nobody wins them all, do they? No, the thing is, people said this before, but it's like the Northwest, for example. Can you have a game plan? Let's look at the 6 race. You can go from 6th to 1st, 1st to 6th. Yeah. You can't plan where you're going to be because once you get a slipstone, it's them you sort of. I think you need luck on the day as well. Definitely, I think you need a bit of luck on your side, especially at the TT with reliability and things like that, because you can bolt a big bike together and lock wire everything, and something will break, and you'll think, oh, well, that's never broken before. It's like you can never plan for what's going to happen. No. Just improving what we've done, to be honest. Yeah, I've sort of just took steps and steps and steps out because the Isle of Man's not the sort of place where you want to make big jumps. But everywhere I go, it's not just that. Everywhere I go, I do the same. I've started doing a bit of short circuit racing over the last sort of year and a half. Don't get me wrong, I'm not doing it every weekend in, weekend out. I'm sort of doing like 4 Super Sport, 4 Superbike, 4 Super Stock. And every time where I start, if you look at where I started and where I finished doing them, then when we go do something else, you can see the improvement I've made. And the Isle of Man's the same sort of thing. I started when I started, and if you look at the progress I've had throughout the years, but then going into this year, I want to do the same again. To be honest, you want to go a bit faster than you did last year, and we've got better packages for this year. But again, they are the calculated sort of changes, if you know what I mean. They're not sort of right, we'll just throw this at it and see what it does. We've sort of sat down on the table and discussed what can we do to make the whole thing better, and we hopefully should be in a better position. Well, we are in a better position this year than we were last year, bike-wise. So I've been with the same team now. I've been with Silicon Engineering for 3 years, and it's one of them. Where do you go? Do you change? I know people say go here, go there, but then why? Why do I need to go anywhere else? You know, the bikes we've got are good, the lads are good, team's good. You know, I'm happy. Hopefully they're happy, and we sort of know what we want to do, and we're just all sort of putting the jigsaw together to try and make the win happen. All the ZX10s, Superbike, Super Stock, and then a ZX6 Super Sport bike. So it's got a full fleet of Kawasaki's again, which is same bikes as last year, but we've built a new Superbike. To be honest, no, not really. No, I do like them all. I do like the 600. When you get from the Superbike or Super Stock to the 600, the 600's fun because it's easier to ride. But then on the other hand, it's not as quick. Where the Superbike and the Super Stock's fun because they're so fast. Do you know what I mean? Like the Super Stock moves around a bit more than the Superbike doesn't. They've all got their own little traits, and I like each individual one of them for their own reasons. So there's not one that sort of stands out above the rest. Favourite part is from Greeba Castle all the way through all the way through to Ballacrane through a Glen Ellen section. I love that bit.
How come?
I just like to be through the trees, the way you sort of feel like you almost feel safe, but you're really not. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Because you've got loads of things surrounding you. You think, oh, I'm okay, and I'm fully surrounded by stuff. And
just be a blur there. Trees are sort of.
Yeah, no, you just concentrate where you're going. You're picking point to point. It's like when I tip up, it's like I went from Scarborough last year, which is probably the world's. It's quite narrow, but it's probably not the narrowest of road races. To Silverstone.
Big wide.
And I've gone from a track this wide with trees and fences and full of people either side here. You can see people's heads in the crowd. And I've gone from the Silverstone, which is like a 4-lane motorway. Yeah. And that takes a bit of getting your head around. Yeah, I struggle from. Not that I struggle. I don't like. Not that I don't like it. The bit that I don't like, the I like the least, is from Parliament Square all the way through to just like the 26 milestone. For some reason, I just find that really nadgery. And it's one of them places where I need to look at the times because, you know, sometimes when you think you're really bad at a section and I think you're losing time, you're probably not. You think, oh, I'm not doing that bad. But then the place where you think I'm really good here and I feel really comfortable, I'm probably not that quick. So what I could probably do is sitting down and going through a few things to see how quick you are through certain sections. Yeah. We do sit down in the team, we go through data, we look at times and, you know, and think, right, where can you improve? I think everyone does it though. Do you know what I mean? That everyone's in the sort of the same boat and everyone's got the same stuff. The Isle of Man now is, look at the teams that are there. Do you know what I mean? It's not a British event, it's a world-class event almost, do you know what I mean, with the teams you've got there. I've got a caravan here, I like to sit in there, a bit of peace and quiet, drink tea, and just have a bit of relaxed time. I'll go on the front and have an ice cream, get out of the way for a bit. But then I do like it in the paddock, to be honest, because I know what I'm there for. A lot of people like to stay out of the paddock, but no, I like to be in the caravan in the paddock, and I can wander to and from the truck, see the bikes, and have the caravan there. It's nice. Yeah, I don't know. It's similar in a lot of road races, really. Road racing, sitting and like the Ulster Grand Prix. I was the first newcomer to average 130 mile an hour, and I learnt that the first time there. And I don't know why, to be honest. I wish it was the same at short circuit racing, because I'm useless at that. Do you know what I mean? No, to be honest, I don't, because I've got to a level now where I've learnt the track to a point. Doing laps in a car doesn't help you. Because it's handy when you don't know where you're going, because you just need to know what's coming up, you know, like familiarise yourself with surroundings. But then when you get on your bike, you see everything, or when you get on your bike, you'll be on the other side of the road. And you see it then from a different perspective. So you go around in the car and everything doesn't look quite right. So I try not to go around in a car, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Because it ends up, not playing mind games, but it's just different.
Do you watch like track footage and stuff like that? Or
yeah, I do actually. Yeah, I do. Before, not as much now, but before I went over, I used to watch hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of track footage all the time. I still do watch a bit now, to be honest. I actually quite like watching it. I know it's quite sad, but I can sit down and watch laps and listen to gear changes and listen to the engine and do all sorts of stuff like that. It's great. Bruce Anstey.
Bruce Anstey. How do you feel about, obviously, he's not looking like he's going to be there this year?
No, he's shit really, Bruce. Had a bit of a bum deal, hasn't he? Do you know what I mean? He's the nicest bloke in the paddock. And he's had that. It's not the first time either. No, it's the reason why I like Bruce. It's all attitude to anything. He doesn't do any other racing really. Just a bit of probably motocross through winter and a few bits, a bit of training, and he just tips up, and he's just there. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter what he does. He's just there. That's Bruce. Do you know what I mean? And even when he passes, if Bruce passes you, he'll pass you with so much respect. Whereas other people stripe the side here. No, not Bruce. Just, you know what I mean? The funniest thing with Bruce was, I'm sure it was the Ulster Grand Prix. The Ulster Grand Prix. It was. Obviously, I've watched racing all my life. And as a kid, I've seen bloody RC45, you know, like from Goyle to Isle of Man and Bruce. I remember when Bruce were the 250s and all this sort of stuff. And I remember in 04, when, I think it was 04, 03 or 04, when he won on the Triumph. His first big win with the Triumph 600 Supersport race. And I was there watching that day, and you saw that he's won and you see it and all the rest of it. Then he went to go race to Tass and all the rest of it, he's done what he's done. And then I started racing, and he obviously is still racing. And when you follow somebody that you've always looked up to at racing, and then you sat behind somebody, and I can see Anstey on his levers, that's quite a surreal thing.
That must have been cool.
Yeah, well, it was brilliant. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I'm sure at the Ulster Grand Prix, and I was sat behind him. I'm thinking, I'm following Bruce. I don't want to pass him here. I've got too much respect to pass him. Do you know what I mean? I'll just sit behind him. Do you know what I mean? But no, it's brilliant. Just no. Do you know what I think? No, I think the key is just riding a bike. You can go like I go to the gym a little bit and do cycling and go on my trials, but it's just a waste of time. Yeah. It's generally, I think it's just a total waste of your life. I think the best thing in the world is go ride the bike. You are going to race. If you ride that bike, you're going to race a lot. You will be fit and you will be fast on that motorbike, and that is the bottom line. I think all this stuff where people say, oh, yeah, go run a marathon and do this. You know what I mean? It's like, really? You know when you see somebody get off the bike, do they look like they've been running a marathon? They don't, do they? Do you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, they might look warm in the face, but they're never panting like a dog. Do you know what I mean? Like you would when you're running. So you need to be bike fit. I think bike fit is just key. That is the most important thing. You can be the fittest person in the world. Like, for example, if you put, I don't know, somebody that's really good at boxing. You get a boxer that's fit as anything fighting a ring. You put him on a bike, right, and send him round a track day for 25, 30 minutes, and look what he's like when he gets off. Do you know what I mean? Because he's not used to using that sort of muscle, if you know what I mean. So I think just bike fitness is key.
Yeah. I mean, John McGuinness doesn't run any marathons.
Yeah, exactly. Look how good John is. Do you know what I mean? That's another rider that you just take your hat after. 250 British champion. He could go. I remember watching John. It was a BSB beat, and it was years ago, and he stood in at Hawk Kawasaki at Brands Hatch GP, right? And he came in the standing round. This is how much of a good quality McGuinness is, right? He tipped up, obviously got on the Hawk Kawasaki, and he was lying like 4th or 5th in a British Superbike race on a bike. He just tipped up and got on that day. And you just think, do you know what I mean? I can't even do that on a bike I ride every week. Do you know what I'm saying? Well, I've been with Shuey since I first ever started racing. So that's what, 2008? Yeah, 10 years ago, yeah, started racing in 2008, so ish, 2007, 10, 11 years ago. Yeah, and I used, believe it or not, I used a Michael Rutter replica. That was my first ever Shuey helmet I ever had. I had a Shuey replica, and I've used Shueys ever since. Spider levers, I've used them since... When did I first start using Spider levers? I've been using them for that long, I can't even remember... Yeah, I can't remember that far back. And literally, I could get a size 40 straight off the shelf and it fits me like a glove.
Right, straight off the peg?
Yeah, I could literally get a Sparta set of levers straight off the peg, put them on and go race the bike. When I go testing, I just get an off the peg suit and I can use them all day and they're comfy. It don't give me a bother. The favourite bit of my gear is my shoulder and elbow protectors on the sliders. They're the best bits. Yeah. I think they look the coolest.
They do look pretty cool.
Yeah, and the whole design of them, to be honest, obviously they're made to suit my colour scheme, but the whole design of them spot on. Do you know what I mean? I can move in them. It's one of them. I've used a couple of different sets of levers, and it's definitely one of the best ones I've used, to be honest. Yeah, I had a big one at the Northwest in 2015, I think. And I must have slid up the road at a good 120, 30 mile an hour, and I got off and walked away, so it wasn't all bad. Don't get me wrong, they're a bit scuffed and scraped, but I think it's what you're going to expect when you slide up your public road at 100 mile an hour. But no, I did the same with the Ulster Grand Prix. I crashed at the Ulster Grand Prix, I had a massive crash, went into the banking, and Never had there was no problem with the levers. It was just me hitting the banking that the problem became. Yeah, no, the electric bikes, I think they're good. I do actually like them, to be honest. They are unique in themselves, really, because it's different, isn't it? And I don't mind something that's a bit different now and again. Whether the biggest question mark is, are they going to beat the modern bikes? And it's like, I think they're a long way away at the minute. There's a lot of development to be put into them to make them as quick as a modern bike. But I could go into details, the reasons why and what and why for hours and hours and hours, to what things why they're not as good and what you want to change and what you want to test. But no, it's one of them. It's just there's only a limited number of teams out there, people that are putting development in them, so it is slow at the minute for them to get better and better and better. And obviously, it's just battery technology.
Yeah, absolutely.
If we can store power in a different way, they'd be a lot quicker. Yeah, I did the Le Mans. I did a parade at Le Mans on it. So the plan is next year on the electric bike they want to compete in the Le Mans 24-hour race, which will be interesting, to be honest. It'll be the first ever electric bike to do it, and the Sarah Lee guys have sort of stood up to the mark and said, "All right, that's what we're going to do." So it'll be interesting.
Are you in the running for that? You fancy that?
Yeah, no, definitely. For me, it's a bit of a challenge. It's something different, something new. So no, I'll definitely be having a go and seeing what happens, to be honest. The hardest thing about the electric bikes, because you don't have gears, is judging your speed when you get to a corner. Because when you're on your modern bike, you've got 6 gears and you know, right, this gear's third, that one's fifth, that one's second. When you're on an electric bike, you've just got to think, I'll brake this much, and it's hard to judge your speed because there's no gears. And it's the weight as well, because the 600,000 maybe, or your 600 might be 160, 70 kilos, same with the big bike. But then the electric bike, would you look at the batteries, they're like 250, 60 kilos. And it is a big difference. Like obviously your braking markers all change because they're so heavy, and the turn slightly slower, and it's something you've got to get your head around. You've also got to pay it with a bit of respect because it does turn slow. But the thing, because it's so heavy, it's really planted because there's the weight behind it to keep the bike stable. To be honest, it's disappointing, really. It is disappointing about the advertising licence. It's all down to money, innit? Do you know what I mean? Which, that's just a fact of life. Everything comes down to money. And it is a bit upsetting because I've watched there as a kid. And that's all. That one of the races I wanted to race when I was a kid because I watched there so much. And you do miss doing it, to be honest. Because this is the first year I've started a racing season and going to the North of Ireland and I hadn't done a Scarborough. Yeah, it's strange. I said that I was literally at the workshop yesterday with the lads, and I was saying, I feel a bit like we haven't done a lot this year. We're not going to Scarborough, are we? Do you know what I mean? It's like a 2-day weekend that's missed. Not just for the riders, but for the fans, because they get such a big crowd up there, and it's like, for the sake of some rector fencing or something, which they've been knocked back from, it's like, it's the Sky, it's England's only the only road race in England, and it's gone now, and it's like, oh.
Do you think we're back?
I hope it's back, to be honest. I hope it is back because on a sunny day when the sun's shining, it's brilliant. Do you know what I mean? And look at the history of the place. If you went back through history and look at the riders that had raced there, it's unbelievable. So no, it is a bit annoying, really. Greenpeace, is it? Is it Greenpeace? Health and safety, that's the one, yeah. But then again, the people of Mondrick said, if they say health and safety, they'll say to me, you don't want to race around a dangerous track. But I suppose you race on the Isle of Man, so it sort of offsets the balance a bit, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean?